Hello, Year 12, it's Miss Wills here, and I'm just going to be going over the next couple of lessons on closed words. And I would like you just to follow along with this PowerPoint, please, and pause it when I ask you to carry out the tasks. The first thing I would like you to do is to read what is on the slide here, and you will see there are gaps, there are blanks. I just want you to try and figure out and kind of write in those gaps what words are actually missing. So if you could just pause this clip to give that a go, please. Okay, so we're going to come back to that in a moment. So I'm just going to talk through with you kind of what we're going to be focusing on over the next couple of lessons. So we're going to try to define closed word classes and to identify them in a text, but not only really identify them, but kind of consider the impact and effect of the usage of these words as well. Okay, so the key word classes and word types we're going to be focusing on over the next two lessons are below. So it's pronouns, prepositions, determiners, and conjunctions. You may have heard of these, you may be familiar with some of these words, you may not. Either way, we're going to go through this in some detail over the next couple of lessons and try to apply our knowledge. So these four types of words here are what we call function words. So they help us to build up our language, to build up our sentence and kind of relationship between words and what is happening in that sentence. We call them structural words or function words because they really kind of help build the meaning and structure of a sentence. So bearing that in mind, so they are the four that we are going to be focusing on today. I would like you to now look back at this first slide, okay, and obviously you will have filled in the blanks. And I just want you to consider and just pause this clip for a moment while you consider and think about which of the four word types that we have here, word classes, which of the four do you think these words are? So you just pause the clip here and give that a go. Okay, hopefully you managed to recognize that these words are pronouns, and that is what we're going to be focusing on for today's lesson. So pronouns, and I would like you to jot down the definition of these word classes as we go through. So they quite simply replace the noun in a sentence. So replacing sometimes the subject or the object in a sentence. So for example, we've got underneath here the sentence, Wendy gave the address book to Stephen. Now in this sentence, Wendy is the subject, okay, because she is carrying out the action. And Stephen becomes the object because he is what is being affected in this sentence. So what I've done at the bottom here is I've shown you how I can replace these nouns with pronouns and it's still making sense. So for example, she is a pronoun that can replace Wendy, gave, and you could replace address book with it, to him replacing the proper noun Stephen. So that is what a pronoun does, and that's kind of the function it plays in a sentence. Now, what we're going to go over today is the 7 different types of pronoun. There's a lot of types of pronoun there, so I would like you to make sure you jot this down on a kind of piece of paper on this worksheet here if you have it available in front of you. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going through kind of breaking down each type of pronoun, what it is, okay, examples of the pronoun, and then, I'll get you to kind of have a look at specific examples and see if you can identify them as well. So we'll start with the first one, which you may be quite familiar with, and that is personal pronouns. So for this, the personal pronouns, what they are, pronouns that replace the subject or object of the sentence, kind of that refers to, when the object refers to a person or people, okay? So, for example, we have here, the man ate the pasta, Okay, so we have that noun man there. So it's referring to a person. Okay, well, what we'll do there in order to replace that noun with personal pronoun, we can replace it with he. He would be the personal pronoun here that replaces the noun. So as I say here, I and he replace the subject, me and him replace the object. Okay, so I'll go on the next slide here. Here are just a list of examples of personal pronouns. So when the personal pronoun is replacing the noun that is the subject, you will often see the following: I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. When the pronoun is replacing the noun, which is the object, you will often see me, you, him, her, it, us, you, or them. So, bearing that in mind, what I would like you to do now on the next slide, there are 3 sentences there. All I would like you to do for me is to replace the nouns, the subject, and the objects below with a personal pronoun. So I would like you just to pause this clip as you do that, please. Okay, hopefully managed to give that a go, and I will just bring the answers up on the next slide here. So the first sentence we had was the pupils performed well. Well, the pupils, of course, is the noun here. So what I would do now, so we've got the noun and obviously the subject, of course. In order to replace that with a personal pronoun, I would replace the pupils with they. So that is the first one there. The second one, Kelly turned around and hit Richard. Okay, here we have Kelly is the subject because she's carrying out the action, and Richard is the object because he's the affected. So here I have replaced Kelly with the pronoun, personal pronoun she, and I have replaced Richard with the personal pronoun him. So finally we have Tom hugged Bethany. So we have the 2 proper nouns there. Tom, of course, being the subject, Bethany the object, and I've replaced them with he hugged her. Okay, so nice and simple there. So that is the first type of pronoun in the English language. The second type we're going to look at is possessive pronoun. Okay, possessive pronouns. Quite simple these. So possessive pronouns just indicate possession. So for example, instead of this book is Sarah's, this is hers. This car is Tom's, the car is his. Okay, so it's replacing the noun, okay, when it's kind of indicating possession there. So here are some examples. Mine, yours, his, hers, it's, ours, yours, and theirs. Okay, so they are the kind of common examples of possessive pronouns to kind of look out for there. The next pronoun I'm going to discuss with you is reflexive pronoun. So these indicate that the object of a verb is the same as its subject. So for example, we have here, he, which is the subject, congratulated himself. As you can see, the subject and the object are the same person, okay? So it wouldn't make sense if it said he congratulated him or he congratulated he. Okay, we'll use himself here when referring to the same person. So, they're often, as it says at the bottom here, easily recognizable because they end in self or selves. I'm going to give you another example now. So here we have a lovely picture of one of my pet rats, Rory. And I've got the sentence at the top. Rory always cleans Rory thoroughly after his breakfast of scrambled egg. Well, of course, this sentence doesn't really make much sense, does it? Rory always cleans Rory. I mean, it makes sense, but what we need to think about is how we would replace, because the subject and the object are the same, we need to think about how we'd replace Rory here with a reflexive pronoun. So that would turn to Rory always cleans himself thoroughly after his breakfast of scrambled egg. So that's just an example of how you can use a reflexive pronoun. And here is a list of different types of reflexive pronoun you might come across. Okay, next one we have got demonstrative pronoun. Now, as you can see, we've got a lovely picture here of a finger pointing. That is because these are pronouns, kind of when you see them, you kind of get a sense of pointing at something, kind of indicating specifically to something. Words include, so demonstrative pronouns include this, that, these, and those. So, for example, here we have, read her letter again. That gives you the answer. So instead of saying the letter, okay, again, so the letter being a pronoun, is referred to as that. Kind of, we have that sense of it being pointed at. Now, in this as well, we do have a couple of other pronouns, and I would just like you to pause this just to kind of write down or jot down what other types of pronoun we actually have in these two sentences here. Hopefully you would have identified that we have her here, which is a possessive pronoun, and we also have you, which is a personal pronoun. Okay, so here are just some examples of demonstrative pronouns and adjectives here. So this, that, these, and those. Okay, moving on. Indefinite pronouns now. So these are pronouns that do not refer to any specific person or thing, hence being called indefinite. So these include words or pronouns such as someone, anything, no one, or everything. Okay, because it's not really specific in terms of what it's referring to. So, for example, someone said that he thought something was wrong. Someone and something would, of course, be the indefinite pronouns. And here are a list, I think I've just got it on the screen there, of different types of indefinite pronouns there, if you just want to jot that down. Okay, next one. We're nearly there, guys. Relative pronouns. Relative pronouns, as it says on the slide here, act as linking words in a sentence. They are always placed immediately after the noun. So as you can see here, we have the relative pronoun that. It comes straight after the noun city and kind of links it to the kind of rest of the sentence there. That has many tourist attractions. So relative pronouns, they include also, who, whom, whose, which, and that. So I'll just put on the next slide here some examples and I'll let you have a little look through those. Okay, so the final one is interrogative pronouns. Okay, now we've already talked about interrogative sentences, so hopefully you know by now that it kind of involves a question. So all an interrogative pronoun is are the pronouns that are used when a question is being asked. So for example, examples are who, what, okay, whose, and which. So who said that? What do you want? So these are examples of interrogative pronouns. I hope that made sense to you guys. Okay, now I'm going to have to pause this clip here for now, part kind of one of the lesson, because I've got time frame on these recordings. But I would now like you to click on the second link, please, for the rest of the lesson.